Hello, all of these beautiful people in here tonight. How are you guys? How are you guys? You guys look absolutely beautiful in here tonight. Absolutely, absolutely beautiful in here tonight. Hello, Kathy. Hello, Ellie Mae. Hello, HM. Hello, Rhonda. Hello, TG Chicago. Hello, Sassy Squirrel Stash. Hello, Victoria. Hello, Annette. Hello, Kathy. Hello, Ellie Mae. Hello, Fern Ann. Hello, Lalita Castile. Um, Hello, Faye Stewart. Hello, Diane Frank. Hello, Jesus Freak. Hello, Bernadette. Hello, Annette Gabriel. Hello, LA. Hello, Jesus Freak. Um, Hello, Susie Q. Hello, Victoria. Hello, Fernanda. Hello, Susie Q. Hello, Lighthouse Girl. Hello, Wilma. Hello, Walking by Faith. Hello, Trinice. Uh, Hello, Deb DS Sunshine. How are you guys? Hello, Mia. TG Chicago. How are you guys? You guys look absolutely beautiful. I hope you had an amazing Sunday today. I hope you all got enough rest over the weekend, enough food over the weekend. I hope all is well with your families. Can y'all hear me? Um, Hello, Victoria. What's up, Todd? Hello, TG Chicago. Hello, Fern Ann. Hello, Mia. Hello, Trinice. Hello, Deb DF Sunshine. Hello, Lighthouse Girl. Hello, Fern Ann. Hello, Kathy Beck. Hello, Walking by Faith. Hello, Wilma. Hello, Fern Ann. Hello, Lighthouse Girl. Hello, Walking by Faith. Hello, Deb DF Sunshine. Hello, Victoria. Hello, Kathy. Hello, Annette Gabriel. Hello, Jesus Freak. Hello, Ellie Mae Critter Lover. Hello, HM. Hello, Rhonda. Hello, Sassy Squirrel Stash. Nice to have you with us. Hello, Victoria. Hello, Annette. Hello, Diane Frank. Hello, Lalita Castile. Nice to have you. Hello, Kathy. Hello, Faith Stewart. Hello, Diane Frank. Hello, Jesus Freak. Hello, Bernadette. Hello, Annette Gabriel. Hello, LA. Um, Hello, Susie Q. Hello, Fernanda. Hello, Jennifer. Hello, Jesse Trent. Nice to have you with us. Hello, Bob Apples. Hello, Super Bad Betty. Bad Betty. Hello, Trinice. How are you guys? I hope you had an amazing weekend. I hope you got fat, full, and was lazy. I hope you spent so much time with your families and your loved ones. I hope all of you health is high and well. I'm praying for each and every one of you. Um, Hello, Wanunak, Wanamuk. Hello, Pamela Maltese. Um, Go Steelers. We got the win today. I hope your team won. If they didn't, then uh, try next week. Everyone, please pray for my mother Donna. Please, please pray for my mother Donna. Please pray for D Dab. And please pray for Stephanie Green as well. Hello, Quiet but Fearless. Hello, Kathy Beck. Who is that? Ford for Life. What's up, Ford for Life? How are you, Ford for Life? Everyone here looks so beautiful. in here tonight. Everyone looks beautiful in here tonight. Uh, she's not doing so good, Pamela Maltese. Y'all just please pray for my mother Donna. Todd, how'd you like this Sunday of this football today, Todd? I know you had a field day today, Todd. Did you have a field day, Todd? uh, hello, Wanna Muck. Hello, Lighthouse Girls. Love you, Walking by Faith. Hello, Yvonne Austin. Hello, love you, Yvonne. We're about to get started right now, guys. Quiet but fearless. Here goes your link. Or anybody else that wants to. Let me see. Hello, Moscow Lees. Hello, Jesse Trent. Thank you, Bernadette. I got your cash app. Hello, Denise Hayes. I'm going to get to it right now, Bad Betty. Susie Q and Quiet. You guys can go ahead. Whatever you need to do.
Okay, I thought Bad Betty was coming up. Hello, everybody.
Hey, Susie.
Hello, Quiet. Do you have a lot to tell us tonight?
I don't think there's a whole lot to happen today. A few things, but I guess we can kind of wait and see if there's maybe any, if the chat's got, you know, any ideas or anything that they're talking about. Um, is Betty coming up?
I haven't seen
Uh,
her yet.
y'all can just recap and start over because a lot of people are new, a lot of people are lost. We got a lot of new subscribers, so you guys can start from the beginning and come in because you're gonna have a lot more questions, a lot more concerns as well. I was reading the comments today from the video we did from the panel last night, so there's a lot of new people, so you guys can start from the beginning or wherever you would like and close to the finish.
No D-Deb updates, it sounds like. A lot of people are asking about that.
Has Funky heard anything from D Deb?
I'm waiting on from her husband.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Uh,
Susie, do you think we just need to kind of give a little recap? As
Whatever you want to do. I haven't even made it to one Whittaker video yet, and then I'll start looking at the comments and read
okay,
just some.
yeah, yeah. Someone else, please come up to the panel. You know, it doesn't matter if if you're watching, you have opinions and can help answer some of the questions. I would really appreciate it. Um, so for those of you that might be new, the Whittaker family lives in a small town in West Virginia. The name of the town is Odd, West Virginia, and they were sort of discovered probably, I think it was 6 or 7 years ago by uh, a guy named Mark uh, Laeta from California who has a channel called Soft White Underbelly, which a lot of you may be familiar with. And he started interviewing this family. They are have a lot of intermarriage in their family, and there are a lot of genetic defects. You can plainly see, and a lot of it is, if you look at their family tree, it's because that the people were so closely related. And I think there was 16 children in the family initially, and several of those children have passed away. But the mother had asked one of the daughters, who is not as challenged as some of the other children were, when she was dying, basically, would she just not get married and always look after her siblings? And she promised her mother that she would do that. And her name is Betty, and she is presently living in West Virginia. And in the home now, there are three other family members who have special needs. Ray, he is very autistic and basically nonverbal. He makes a lot of sounds, but can't really enunciate words very well. And then there is a sister. Her name is Lorraine, and she's pretty much nonverbal as well. And she has a son whose name is Timmy. And Timmy is the youngest Whittaker. He's 46 years old. And Timmy is also has a lot of special needs. He has probably the mindset of a 6 year old. And he also has difficulty speaking. And there's another brother that presently lives in the house, and his name is Larry. Their house is in terrible condition. And when they were with, when they were first discovered by Mark from California, he wanted to help the family to get a house, to get a better place to live. And he had a lot of fundraising going on, and he had raised, I think the total was $153,000. And the family got a lot of that money. Mark was a really nice guy, and he gave them money when they would call, and say certain things had happened. They needed a few thousand for this, or they were going to buy a car. And at one point, he had given them a significant amount of the GoFundMe money, several $1,000s. And that was supposedly being kept for safekeeping by the brother Larry, who at that time lived in a camper across the street. And there was a fire in Larry's camper, and the money supposedly burned up. And Larry has a daughter. Her name is BJ, and she has a drug addiction, and basically has caused a lot of grief to the whole Whittaker family. She had a boyfriend, and he shows up on YouTube a few days later with a lot of money and holding it in his hands. And whether it came from the Whittaker money or not, no one knows, but people are very skeptical of that. Um, BJ has been abusive to the Whittakers. That she has hit Timmy in the head. She has hit Betty, and she has hit Ray. Um, and these people are vulnerable. They cannot fight back. They can't speak. And also, a couple of her boyfriends have physically beaten Ray and Timmy. So that's sort of, there's so much to tell, it's hard to recap it all. But anyway, long story short, Mark had to walk away because BJ told him Larry had died. And Mark had basically, I guess he just had all he could do with his family, and he just walked away. I think he may have done a video or so since, but he just had to stop doing it. So you really hadn't heard a lot from the about the Whitakers for a couple of years, and it's been a few months ago that a man named Patrick Rourke, who had went to school with Timmy, moved into the neighborhood near the Whitaker's house, and he got acquainted back with Timmy, and he started doing videos with Timmy. He said that he was at a really, hard point in his life, and that not sure what to do with his life, and he needed to change. And after he got reacquainted with Timmy, he said he had a purpose, and that it was helping Timmy and helping the family has become his purpose for all he does now. He said it made a major change in him. He contacted a guy in Georgia who has a YouTube channel. I, I think it's Dad Talk, and he supports fathers who do not get to see their children, in divorces and things. Good dads that for conflict with their ex-wives, they aren't able to see their kids. He advocates for them, and he has a good following, and has goes across the country lobbying and advocating for that cause. Um, he and Patrick teamed up to help try to raise funds to get the Whitakers a house, and they have been doing some. They contacted the Amish community to have them to see if they would take on the project of building the house and be in charge of all monies that were donated for the construction of the house. And the Amish had just agreed, and they're backing up about two steps. There have been some issues with BJ being there right in the little camper next door, and with all the accusations of abuse and drug and addiction. Uh, Betty had asked, did not want BJ there, said she was afraid of her. So they went to court to get an eviction, to have her evicted from the property, and also a protection order. And that was granted for 10 days, and BJ had to leave the property. Well, it so happens that Larry, her father, was not very cooperative. And bottom line short, there was some confusion about the court date to extend the protection order, and some speculation that Miss Betty may have went and canceled the order. And Eric was very disappointed. He felt like that it he had just been slapped in the face. And as of today, I don't think anyone has heard from Eric in about 18 hours. He's not made any posts online. But Timmy is with Patrick, and he has posted several things, doing things with Timmy today. So that is sort of like a really quick update with a lot of things I probably missed.
Jennifer says this lady is doing a great job explaining the Whittaker story. And there was one other one here to start with. Let's see. Um, Now, where did it go? Funky says everyone hit the like and subscribe button. Betty says, hello to everyone I didn't get to say hi to. Are you coming up at all tonight, Betty? And
Betty, please come up.
Lighthouse Girl says, I'm sub to those two, but haven't been to them in a while. Jennifer did have a different name. Let's see. We've got a lot of new names in here tonight.
Yeah.
Lighthouse Ministries Outreach says, hello, Funky, new here. Hello to you. And I had one I was going to read. I don't see it right now. Get back over here. Oh, here we go. Kelly Owens says the house is not on their land, but they do have 17 plus acres across the street, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. To the best of my knowledge, they do have 17 acres of really nice land. And I think that's where Betty had mentioned to Eric that she would like to build a house somewhere on that 17 acres. But the house that they live in now is not their house. It is actually owned by a LLC, sort of a holding company. And I think it was purchased by that company because there was a delinquency with the property tax. And I'm not sure if they pay rent for the house or if they just sort of stay there and they let them stay there. But they do not own that house that they live in now.
And do you have any kind of a recap of BJ being there net with the property and the court stuff going on?
Uh, well, it's just like I said, she had been asked to leave. There was an eviction order for her to leave the property and also a protection order that was granted for 10 days. And Eric was under the assumption that the court date was going to be this coming Thursday. And that was the reason he extended his stay in West Virginia, was to be able to accompany Betty to court and act as her advocate. But on the 4th, I believe that was the date, Eric went over to the Whitakers to collect Betty because they were supposed to go um, to the lawyer's office to set up a trust fund where all the donations for the Whitakers, not for the house, but just for the Whitakers, were supposed to be deposited so that there would be money in the future to take care of their needs and, to help upkeep the house and so forth. And that trust fund was supposed to be have trustees, several trustees, so it would ensure that the money could not be, you know, given to family members that didn't need it. It would only go for the appropriate reasons that it was donated for. So when he went to pick up Betty for this appointment, and they were also that day supposed to go to APS and sign some paperwork so that Betty could get services into the home for Ray and Lorraine, like home health services, someone to help bathe them, and provide some needed care. Well, she wasn't there when Eric arrived at the house, and Larry said that she had gone to town with Brandon, who is BJ's son, and it would be Larry's grandson, to get some dog food. Well, Eric waited for a while and he went to the post office to set up a post office box where small donations could be sent to the Whitakers. He finally returned to the Whitaker residence and Betty was still not there. And Larry was saying something to him about, we saw that you want to take Lorraine and Ray and Timmy out of the family, and we saw somebody said you posted it on Facebook blah blah blah. And but it Betty came back during that time, and so they had missed the lawyer's appointment. And I'm trying to think of what happened that day. That was when I think that Eric was a little disappointed, in that day that Betty didn't come, and that she had gone. They found out she had gone with Brandon. He had taken her out and was going to show her things on Facebook to prove to her that Eric was posting that they wanted to break up the family. That was not true. I have not seen anything that Eric posted about wanting to, break that family up. So he was not feeling good about it that day. He said he just really felt like throwing his hands up and coming home, but he stayed. Okay. He went a few days later to see the Amish. And the Amish, they approved that they would take on doing the house, and they were going to take it to their council and pray on it. And they would set up a committee, and all the donations for the house would be sent directly to the Amish committee, and they would oversee that money to make sure that there was money there for building that house. And they had gone to get permits, and everything seemed to be, going pretty well. And then Eric goes over to the Whittakers after he returns from visiting the Amish. And he walks up, as he's walking up to the house, he sees BJ in that camper. And she is not supposed to be there according to the protective order. And when he goes up on the porch and he confronts Larry and Betty about who's in the camper, they lie to him. And he says, I see who's there, and they continue for a little bit lying to him. And so he finds out that so he said he calls 911. He said, we have to call 911 because she's not supposed to be here. It's in violation of the protective order. So they call 911, and Eric has to get Betty on the phone because Betty is the person whose name that the protection order is in. So she takes the phone, and then she goes into the house, and then a few minutes later, she comes back out, and she says, here, they want to talk to you. And he kind of stops filming at that point, and he comes back on a little bit later, and he says it was I guess the sheriff's department that she called or whoever, and they told him that the protective order had been canceled and that they had missed the court date. And Eric swears, the court date was in 10 days, like for next week. But evidently the court date was on the 4th, and that was the day that Betty went with Brandon to town. So there's a lot of confusion about how that protective order actually got canceled because Betty is the only person who could have canceled it. And if they knew the court date had been changed, or if the court date was initially scheduled for the 4th, and Eric didn't know and wasn't aware of that, they missed it intentionally. So, not really sure what the real story is about that. But Eric was just heartbroken at that time, pretty much saying, I cannot do this if they're going to protect someone. I don't think it's so much BJ's drug addiction or to, for his reasoning. His reasoning was that anyone who is going to physically abuse these people in this house and be violent with them and bring people around who would beat on them over protecting those three people, then he will have nothing to do with building that house. And I think he pretty much left it at that. And he had to take his friends who had come to help him. One of them was a former Amish man who helped him approach the Amish community. And another guy was one of his friends that he's traveled with as a cameraman. And they came here, and he had to take them back to the airport. And he went live, I think, after he dropped them off, and that's been about several, like a day ago, and I can't find where he's posted anything on social media, and I think he's just kind of went dark since then. Um, that's a long, long answer, but that explains that situation, I think.
Annette says, how difficult would it be to legally for someone, a responsible outsider, to get guardianship of Ray, Lorraine, and Timmy?
I,
And
yeah, I don't really know. I guess they could petition the court, but um, I have no idea.
Big Dog Gaming says, it's so sad. I hope Eric don't give up. It's so beautiful what him and Patrick both are doing. I think Larry has a lot to do with what happens there, and Betty is too scared to do anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think Betty's caught in the middle. I do. I think she's been caught in the middle for years, and I think that they, oh, other family members. I think they bug her for money all the time, and I think that she just tries to keep things peaceful and probably gives them a lot of her money. And it's easier just to go along with whatever anybody's saying than to have a lot of problems. And I think Betty is going to agree with whoever she's with at the time. And that she did lie. She did lie to Eric, and she lied to Mark Layada when he asked her the day, is Larry dead, and she said yes he is, and Larry wasn't dead. Uh, so Betty will lie, and but she did has but when she gets by herself, like with Eric and Patrick, she will tell them, Larry was on her continuously over taking the protective order on BJ. And so I imagine Larry gave her a really, really hard time. And she depends on Larry to somewhat because he's the only one that can drive, and what little help that he gives the family. And, blood's thicker than water, according to a lot of people feel that way. And they have always been together. They love each other, but she she did lie to Eric.
Kelly Owens says Larry was caught on camera stealing gas from Patrick when Patrick was in the hospital. That is 100% fact.
Yes, it is. Patrick recorded it on his ring. What is it? Doorbell thing, the ring recorder. Yes, that there's a video that was up about that. And Patrick wasn't. He had told Larry he would not put that on social media. He would not let that out as long as he, you know, supported Betty with getting that protection order and keeping BJ away from there. And Larry, I don't think he wasn't very supportive, and Patrick picked up on that. And so Patrick posted the video.
Let's Talk Cray Cray says, no, that day he went to drop Timmy off to see his mom. That APS visit was 2 days before. And Annette says, if APS saw the condition of the home, they would need to take custody of all three, the most vulnerable family members, because the house is a health hazard.
I agree with that, but that's probably not their first rodeo with APS. APS, I'm sure, knows all about the Whittaker family. They've been there for years, and I'm sure that's not their first visit because they know that there is special needs, people in that family, and Timmy's there as well. So APS knows about the family. I'm sure that when Timmy was little, APS, did know about him. Um, I'm not sure why why they have let them remain in that house, because that house, there's no special needs person should have to live in that type of conditions. I think if Larry and Betty want to live that way, more power to them. But Lorraine and Ray and Timmy deserve something better. They don't have a say in it, and that the conditions in that house are horrendous.
Let's Talk Cray Cray says he was there to drop Timmy off that day. And Annette says, how is the health department not involved? Black mold, no running water, no working plumbing, etc.
I don't know because even the septic in that house runs into the creek. And you would think the health department, I mean, like years ago up in the mountains, that was common practice probably. You got to realize how isolated that area in West Virginia is where they live, and it would have been even more isolated, several decades ago. And people did run their sewer systems into the creeks. But you would think, I know that health departments have cracked down on that practice, over the years, and you would think that that would not be allowed. So I don't know why the health department hasn't done something about that.
Jesse Trent says they have no septic tank, just a tube that leads to the creek and ground. Let's Talk Cray Cray says the day BJ was there, he was only there to drop Timmy off. All that stuff happened the day before. Kelly Owen says Eric made the same comment Mark has with all he's done. He has never had a thank you. And Lo, BJ manipulates Larry. Larry manipulates Betty. Big Dog Gaming says, I don't think Betty is a scammer. It sounds like Larry has everything to do with it. Cindy Frey's a new member. Cindy gave a super chat. Florida Life in the Sun says, because it's a town of 400 people and the county doesn't have the resources or money, there are many other living the same way. Oh, I didn't realize it was only like 400 people in the town.
In West Virginia, I don't know. It would be nice if there was someone in the chat that's familiar with the area and familiar with West Virginia. But in West Virginia, they're not that far from Beckley, West Virginia. And all through that area, that's coal mining country. And it's an amazing trip to go up there and just drive through that area. It is two mountains basically, and a little valley runs in the middle, and you go from small town to small town. Now, actually, with 400 people, that is a larger town in the area. But as you go on through those mountains, it is like one little town. It will have a little post office and a little store and little houses around. And you'll go 5 miles down the road, and there'll be another little town and another little town. So it's definitely an experience to ride that country, go and take a trip and go up there. And then there you get to Beckley. There is a exhibition coal mine there that you can go in, and we did that one year, and that was an experience that made me appreciate the work that those coal miners do. Definitely wouldn't want to do that. So it's a different environment there. So it's pretty isolated. And I can imagine that when those kids were coming up, it was very isolated in that area.
Denise Hayes says APS went to the house to help Eric, tell them that Eric isn't trying to take Ray, Lorraine, or Timmy away from her. I wonder how recently that was, Denise. And
That,
Kathy's a new member. And Cindy sent a super sticker.
hey, Cindy Frey.
RM Guy said Eric said that Betty is a lot smarter than people realize.
Yes, she is.
And Let's Talk Cray Cray. Larry is worried about being called out for um, assaulting BJ. And Cindy sent another sticker, says, "Love you, Funky and Funky family." And let's see. So, what do you think of those comments?
Well,
Trying
I
to
do
look for
think,
some other ones for you.
yeah, I do think that Betty is smarter than you give her credit for, but I also do think that she's easily manipulated and that she has had a hard job taking care of those family members. That's not an easy job. Plus, she pretty much had to bring Timmy up after he was born, and I believe that she actually may have kept BJ for a while. So I think she's had other family members there other than just the ones that are there now. And at one time there was a brother named Freddie, and Freddie was just as autistic as Ray. So Betty has had her hands full, but she will. She is also uh, she she's smarter than you give her credit for. I'm trying to remember the other comments. There were
Well, here's an interesting one. It says BJ Whittaker, Kenny is Timmy's real dad.
read that again.
Um, BJ Whittaker says Kenny is Timmy's real dad.
Okay, so they're saying that BJ says that, or is there someone in our
Oh,
chat name?
that's the name. The person's name, BJ Whittaker, says Kenny is Timmy's real dad.
Okay, is that BJ Whittaker from the Whittaker family that's in our chat?
That will be interesting to find out. I was
Okay,
like, when I seen that too, I'm like, huh?
well, I mean, if it doesn't matter who Timmy's dad is, there's been a lot of speculation, I think, over the years. I don't, I wouldn't understand what BJ's doing in our chat, really, if that is BJ Whittaker from the Whittaker family. But
Uh,
uh, I don't know that. I've not heard that. I've not heard that in any official, I don't, any official statement from anyone on the videos. And like I said, the videos is what all of us are going by, because that's what we see.
Florida life in the sun. Betty parrots everything anyone says at the moment.
I think she does. I think that she will agree with who she's with, and then she will change when she's back with other people. And when she gets caught, I think she lies.
Oh, BJ Whittaker says I should know.
Why not BJ Whitaker come up on the panel and talk to us?
Funky put the link there. Kelly Owen says no, Lorraine was assaulted. They know Timmy's biological dad. Annette says that would only be known for certain through a DNA test.
Exactly.
Denise Hayes says that's probably her in the chat. She goes into Eric's chat too. Florida Life in the Sun says probably a spam fake name. Now people are saying it's a troll. Uh, TJ Chicago says it's a troll.
Probably is, but by chance, if it were BJ Whitaker,
Yeah, BJ Whittaker says it's my family, I know. Margaret Gonzalez says a friend of the family is said to be the father of Timmy. This is per BJ, Larry, and Kenny in the SWU video. And how many do we have in here? Kentucky Dream says hit the like button. Lighthouse Girl says TG, yes, it is noted that too. It's a troll.
okay.
And Annette Gabriel says can't spell their own supposed name. Let's see. Cindy sent another super sticker. Come on, guys, let's get 15 super chats. Bob Apple says, I'm asking, do you claim to be BJ Whittaker? BJ Whittaker, Kenny assaulted Lorraine. Tiffany
Well,
says her name is misspelled, and I'll let you go ahead and talk now.
okay. Well, if you really are BJ Whitaker, I have a question for you. Why would you hit your aunt? And why would you hit Timmy in the head with a shoe? And why would you allow your boyfriends to beat on Ray and beat up Timmy? Answer those questions if you're BJ Whitaker.
And Bad Betty sent a 1999 super chat. Let's see. Funky says super bad Betty.
Oh, did anybody see the video today Patrick posted of him and Timmy in the electric scooters? And Timmy he hit the lawnmower. It was funny. If you haven't seen that, you should watch it. It was they were and Timmy could drive the thing, except he just couldn't get stopped in time to keep from tail ending the lawnmower.
How many do we have in the chat? And Annette says if the exact circumstances were known and if it was assault, why weren't charges filed? Did Lorraine have Timmy at home or at a hospital? What does Timmy's birth certificate say?
I don't know. That would be something to know. But he goes by Timmy Whitaker, so I don't know if he has like a dad listed on the birth certificate or not. I would imagine not, probably.
And Funky says, come on up if you would like to chat and put the link in the chat. Kelly Owen says, if you're oh wow, the chat's flipping pretty quick here. If you're BJ, why don't you leave and take your turd dad with you along with the right you drive that Mark? I bought Betty and Larry. And Florida Life in the Sun says Betty said he was born at the hospital.
Okay.
And Ashley 1111 says if it's BJ, tell her to join the live so we can see her. Cindy Frey donated $5 and says, come on, guys, donate to help Funky pay for his panel. Every dollar counts.
Thank you, Cindy Frey.
And BJ Whittaker says they have SSI number and birth certificates. That is how they get their checks.
Well, of course they have that to get their checks. I mean, that you would have to. That they may have lost their cards or copies of their birth certificates, but they would have had those in order to register to get their checks. So they have that, I'm sure. But I don't think that some of the copies weren't there according to Eric, and they had to be reordered.
BJ Whittaker says Eric is lying. L. Lowe says block BJ, it's a troll. TG Chicago says Ann likes our free folks. Bob Apple says, well, BJ knows shit. Um,
Seriously, BJ, come on up to the panel and talk to us. We may not agree with you, but we'll hear your side.
Ellie Mae says, obviously not the real BJ since she won't go up and prove it. Rhonda says 64 likes, 146 in the chat.
Wow, that's a lot of people. Oh my, that's a lot of people.
And LA says, please get rid of the troll just starting crap. Funky
Yeah.
wants to everybody to get the likes up. And Jesse Trent says, BJ, you are looking for a fight, I believe, but we know it's not the real BJ.
Right.
And Upcome Hill says, Barbara promised her parents that she would not marry and would take care of her siblings after her parents died. They have lived like this their entire lives. Another sister helped her but passed on.
Yeah, they did. They talk about their Aunt Barbara fondly, and I think that she did help Betty take care of the family, but she passed away several years ago, and Betty has had all of that, for herself to do. So I know that has been a hard job for Betty. That would be a hard job for anyone. And Betty's getting up in years, and I'm even with what she does, it has to be a toll on her.
Florida Life in the Sun says, I mean, you can look at that house and see why they were lost their birth certificates, but they're in the system. Even Lorraine had heart surgery.
Exactly. So they have their Medicaid, I'm sure, and they are getting SSI of some sort and also EBT. They're in the system. And a lot of, that goes through social services and APS is, they're all connected. And I'm sure that they are very aware of the condition of the Whitaker's home. And for the life of me, I don't understand why they have allowed that because of the disabled people that are there. You know, I feel like they have really dropped the ball on that family, and I hope that this attention, if this is getting seen everywhere, the amount of views on just a simple photograph being, I mean, I looked at one today and it had been up 23 minutes and it had 21,000 views on Facebook. That's a lot of exposure. Surely APS does not want that, and I'm wondering if they will not come in and do something.
BJ says it was Lewis and Brandon, not me. And Jason helped. And Deb says, BJ, when is your dad's birthday? RM Guy says, BJ, just speak on the mic long enough for us to tell your voice. You can tell your side. Funky says, TG Chicago, it might be the real BJ.
Well, what did Lewis and Brandon do? I'm interested in that comment. And I think those are your sons, right, BJ?
Bad Betty says, BJ is not going up on the panel because it's not BJ. BJ says, no, Eric just wanted their paperwork so he can take custody of Jimmy and Ray. He lies. And boy, the comments are flipping by quick. Kelly says, Kenny moved his trailer to get away from BJ's abuse. Um, Jesse says, no, it's not the real BJ. And Kathy says, BJ, do you plan on caring for everyone if something happens to Betty?
Um, I think if that is the real BJ Whittaker, that she should be brave enough to come up here and speak to this chat and explain your side. And if you're not the real BJ Whittaker, then you need to go home.
Denise says her son Brandon is on drugs too and always asks Betty for money. Bad Betty says BJ has been put in the corner.
That's
Oh
probably a good
no.
thing.
Yeah, we're seeing some goods now. Teresa says, so this is what's going to happen. Now everybody's going to start making videos talking about the Whitakers so they can make money off of them that they're not going to get.
You know,
Funk. Oh, go ahead.
people always say that. And if you will do a little research on live streams, you make very little money. And most of the people on this live stream are concerned about the Whitakers. It is a family, and it's being put out there, and a lot of people have an opinion because they care about this family. I the people in this chat, we're not here for someone to make money off the Whitakers.
Prepared for Eternity Homestead says, I am all for helping, but has this helping not been going to on for years? Different ones have tried to assist. There comes a point when it will not be effective at all.
That's true, and sadly, so true. People were very leery when Patrick and Eric started this campaign to help the Whitakers. They got beat up in comments. You know, People brought up their past, just saying we gave before and see what happened. How could we trust this family again? And after seeing the interaction that Patrick has with Timmy and Eric, listening to him, people really changed their minds about these two guys. And donations have, begging, where can I send money to help this family? But if this keeps going sideways this time, I don't think there'll be a comeback to this. And that's so sad because these people could have a beautiful home that would accommodate the members of the family who have disabilities. And there could be help there, and it would be a clean environment for them. And they deserve that. And it would be so much better to have that situation than having, if Betty were to pass away tomorrow, but those poor people will be put in care homes, and Timmy is, maybe a group home or something, and the environment might be cleaner and better, but that family loves each other. And that would be sad, but that in reality, that's what would happen. And to do something to, just railroad the process that was going on is just unbelievable to me. I mean, I maybe it's just not the capacity to understand, what they were actually being given. And maybe they're just not capable of it. I don't think they're capable of managing the money, but that was going to be set up to where it was managed for them. So from where I come from, and probably most of the people here come from, we can't understand that way of thinking. And it's just so sad to me. So, I think if something doesn't happen now and this is not a success, I don't think in the future that anybody would want to donate.
Kelly says, I'm here for support. I'm so angry at Larry and BJ's selfishness. And Robert says, who went through the soft white underbelly money? Being from southern West Virginia, I could retire from that amount. Must be some rich drug dealers in the area.
Well, we all saw that video of BJ's boyfriend holding hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and just saying, this is what you get when you work hard. About a few days after Larry's camper mysteriously burned down and burned up the money that he was holding for Betty, safekeeping. So makes you wonder.
Anon 14107 says, consider what Mark, soft white underbelly, did. Similar experience as what we're currently seeing.
Yes, it is. It's almost a repeat occurrence. And um, there was a guy on here on the panel last night, and he brought up a really good point. He said if you listen to the interview that Mark did with one of the nephews, Jason Whittaker, I think, and if you listen to what Eric was saying, it's almost just the same tone of voice and the very same words. So, I can understand how Mark felt, and I can certainly understand how Eric feels right now.
Bad Betty says, TG, you put me in timeout, really? And TG says, no, Betty. Prepared for Eternity Homestead says, Patrick has a ton of reels on Facebook. He really spends a lot of time with Timmy.
Yeah, he
Uh,
does. And Timmy just loves Patrick. He loves him, and he was so attached to Eric as well. I mean, I feel if there's any victim, anyone in this whole thing that does, Ray and Lorraine deserve so much better, but Timmy has a lot of life left. Timmy's not. I live by a road, and I'm outside, and I'm hear these cars. I'm sorry if you heard they're loud, but Timmy has so much potential to be around people who can really help him. And the more Timmy has people helping him learn and do things, people, he is going to improve so much more. It would be a shame that Timmy's future is going to be sitting on that porch, even though they love each other and he loves his mama. His future is going to be sitting on that porch, coloring in a coloring book, and that's it pretty much. And to me, that is the saddest thing. I mean, if
Florida.
even
Oh, go ahead.
but even if Lorraine was placed in like a nursing, a care home of some kind, Timmy could go visit her anytime he wanted to. So I don't think after a while that Timmy would be okay with that. But go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, no. I was just trying. I thought you were done. I'm just trying to read you
I
some
am. I'm
comments.
done. I'm done.
Denise says BJ told Mark her father died to get money from Mark, but she was shocked when Mark showed up and seen her father wasn't dead.
Oh yeah. Mark got on a plane and he flew to West Virginia. And when he got out of the car, Larry and BJ were getting out of their car, and BJ beelined it into that camper. Oh, she did. She was almost running to get in there. And Larry played dumb, of course. Uh, Mark said, Larry, is that what you're wearing to your funeral? And of course, Larry goes, what? And denied knowing anything about what BJ had uh, that he was what she was doing. So, and then Betty evidently he had asked BJ to put Betty on the phone the day before or whenever when she had first called when she called him asking for money to buy them clothes, and Betty also lied to Mark and told him, yeah, Larry had died. And it's all in that video. But Mark handled that the most class I could imagine. Um, and then offered, after all that, offered to pay for BJ to go to rehab and also for her boyfriend to go. Mark did everything he could do for those people, and I think Mark really cared for them.
Ashley1111 says Eric wasn't going to be constant. He was there to get the ball rolling and I'm sure would help out when he could.
Yeah, Patrick wanted Eric to come on board. So, because Eric knows how to get the social media out there. He knows how to, and he's got a lot of connections that he's networked with that could be of help, you know, from his channel. He knows a lot of people. And Patrick wanted to get Eric for that side of things. And that was smart, I think, on Patrick's part because I'm sure Patrick, was not as knowledgeable. And Eric knows how to, get it out there on social media and, to get fundraising going on. And Eric, he gets things done. And it may have went too fast, but he knew what to do and had people who could contact people to get to get the ball rolling. And of course, he lives in Georgia. That's his home, and he he couldn't be in West Virginia all the time. But I do feel like he would have been a frequent visitor there. And I know that after he came and he really just fell in love with Timmy. And I feel like that if things had kept going the way that they have been planned, that Patrick would have been a bit more constant in Timmy's life.
Prep for Eternity Homestead says makes you wonder what happens to Timmy when his mother passes. There seems to be another aunt I seen on a family tree video.
That's a big question. What happens if Betty were to die today? What what's going to happen to Ray? What's going to happen to Lorraine? And what's going to happen to Timmy? They can't stay there in the home. No one's there to take. Well, I mean, I feel like that they would be put somewhere.
Cindy sent another super sticker, and Mima says, just checking, need to stay quiet and in the dark till my head is straight, not myself yet. So sorry you're going through that, Mima. I can't
Yeah.
imagine having those many migraines.
Oh, that must be terrible. Prayers for you, Mima. I hope you feel better really soon.
Ashley1111 says this falls in Larry's lap every time. Betty follows suit. Scared or not, shame on her.
I just wish Betty would think of, could look into the future a little bit and understand she's scared they're going to take the family away from her. What does she think the family's going to do without her? Really, I don't think that she is understands that. I think that Betty could have stood up and said, "No, this is what's going on here." You know, she didn't have to lie, and I think this is just a pattern over the years for Betty. And I think Betty just goes with whoever she's with at the time, just to keep the least amount of chaos possible.
Jesus Freak says there is amazing life skills day programs with transportation provided, paid by medical. Timmy should be in one now.
Timmy, you're right. Timmy should have been in something years ago. Timmy's 46, and Timmy did go to school. He graduated high school, and he was in special ed programs all through school, and he did have resources there, I'm sure. And it sounds like that the day Timmy graduated, they just nobody did anybody look in on Timmy again? Was he did, did he have a social worker? or did the Whitakers just say, no, he's not going to do any of these things? But there had to be some kind of a program somewhere he could have been involved in. And I haven't heard anything, about what Timmy has done for the last, 20 some years, other than just be there.
Bad Betty says, has anyone heard from Nocturna Boo? She hasn't been here for a while. I'm getting worried about her. Kelly Owen says Eric had rehab all set up for BJ and she ignored him.
Yeah. He even offered to pay for her and her boyfriend as well. So that's two people who have offered that to her. And well, you see, she evidently didn't take them, either one up on the offer.
TG Chicago says, Betty, I saw Nocturna on another channel this week. And Wilma says, I seen her somewhere commenting last night, I think, Betty. Let's see. Bob Apples, I don't know. It could be a few days before we hear from Eric, especially if he's back home unwinding with his family as he should be doing.
So I'm not sure he went back home because he was taking his friend back to the airport in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I don't know why they flew into Charlotte. It would have been closer to have flown into Charleston or somewhere in West Virginia, but evidently they flew into Charlotte, and he had to go pick him up from Charlotte, and then he was on his way taking him to the airport. But I think he planned to go back to West Virginia. But whether he did or not, I don't know. And Patrick hasn't said, Patrick said on his live that he had not talked to Eric. So maybe Eric is just taking a few days to get his head straight around everything. Because I imagine, he's pretty upset about it. But I hope he comes back in some form or fashion. Maybe he just taking some time to think it through.
Florida Life in the Sun says, we all know that BJ was never going to just be gone. This family will stick together, good or bad. Betty is keeping her promise to her deceased parents to take care of siblings, including Larry.
Sadly
RM.
enough, it's
Oh, go
probably
ahead.
true. Yeah, I don't, it's just a pattern. It seems to be a pattern in what they do. Sad, and it's sad.
RM Guy says Larry and BJ would probably keep them in home to keep getting their money, but they wouldn't take care of them.
That's probably true. Um, Larry, I think, is in control of their checks. I think that he's like someone has to be a responsible person, like for the checks from Timmy and Lorraine and Ray. And I think Larry is that person. So, we were talking last night, where does their money go?
Jesse Trent says Timmy, Ray, and Lorraine should be in a home and let Larry BJ have it. Betty can go visit them.
Well, I agree, because if they're not going to get that house, they're better off in a home care situation where they're clean, and it's a cleaner environment, and they get therapy, or they get the care they need. And there are a lot of good homes, for group homes for special needs younger people. Timmy might flourish, in a place where there are other people with special needs, because they do provide a lot of activities and stuff if it's a good home. And you know, any I think that they would all be better off. I hope that Timmy could, it would have been nice if he could have had guardianship with Patrick and Eric, maybe. But if that's not an option, then Timmy would be better off in a different environment as well.
Victoria Hall says, seems like the system has failed this family. And Denise says, Eric and Patrick said there's no way they will let Timmy go into a home. So they are thinking about what they can do if Lorraine passes away. They both want to do a joint custody of Timmy.
Yeah, I think that would be a great thing. But what are they? I mean, I wonder what they're thinking now. We haven't heard from Eric. I hope he hasn't changed his mind about that.
Kelly says, didn't Eric go on to meet face to face with the Amish?
He said that he was going to, and he may be doing that now. I'm sure he has some ends to tie up. And, he did make the statement that in that video, he said that he would not give up on Timmy. So I don't think we've seen the last of Eric. I think Eric is just getting his ducks in a row right now. And he needs some time to do that.
RM Guy said Eric was exhausted and probably taking time off to figure out his next step.
Exactly. But I'm really glad that Timmy is at Patrick's house right now because I don't trust BJ living next door. And, I don't even trust Betty sometimes with Timmy because I have seen Betty be really, I think she's mean to Timmy sometimes. And the other day, the day that Eric came and all the chaos broke loose over that order, and, Eric, the last time Eric was there, Timmy was a nervous wreck that day. He was trying to tell Eric, I truly believe that BJ was in that camper, and Betty kept shooing him off. And he finally went over there and sit down to looking at the paper. That boy was upset. And Betty, I noticed her several times. She was irritated with Timmy. And I almost think she would have hit him if there hadn't have been people there and her on camera because she shooed him away and she wasn't nice to him. And, I don't know how she treats Timmy. I mean, I'm sure Timmy's a handful sometimes, but I
Jesus
don't know.
freaks. Oh, go
I
ahead.
hope somebody else noticed that besides me. But
Jesus freak says my son was autistic and got SSI before he passed away. So sorry to hear that, Jesus freak. Social Security does renewals and wants to know what is going on and what services are being used. How did Timmy slip through the cracks, I wonder?
you know, I question that because they social services is aware they have to be very aware of the Whittaker family in that county. And Timmy, they have to be aware of Timmy. I don't know. I'm amazed that they have this is that their living situation has not been addressed by social services and adult protection services because they all have disabilities. And I can't, I for the, I'm just sort of puzzled at that. I don't understand that.
Florida Life in the Sun says I read on property taxes they only pay $103 a year.
Probably so because property is not that as expensive up there. And that little piece of property they have is like isn't it in the almost in the flood zone? Um, I was there was a map that I think Eric was showing the other day. So it's and the value of that house. I mean, does it have a value? So probably that's true.
Yeah, Florida with Life. It looks like this is a part two. I read on I read online that property taxes are $103 now. If they put a new home on there, their taxes would go up. Let's see. Lighthouse Girl says the legal guardian has control over Ray, Lorraine, and Timmy. I'm assuming Betty is the legal guardian.
You know, I wonder that as well, but I have somewhere, some I've heard that Timmy, he doesn't have a guardian. He never needed one. So none of them may have a guardian.
Ashley1111 says you don't have to read this one unless LOL unless you just want to. As I've sent a few, exactly. Where does the money go? Always follow the money, always.
That's what I just said. What is happening to their money? They're taking in, I bet no less than $5,000 a month from SSI. And what could what are they possibly spending that on? And they have EBT as well and Medicaid. So what where's the expenses? I mean, there are expenses, but they should have some, there should be something to, I don't know what, and all the money that they have had given to them, there's not anything there to show for it, really.
Fernand says, Jesus, I'm so very sorry for the loss of your beloved son. Praying for you, hun. Love and hugs. Kathy says, prayer, Jesus. Florida Life in the Sun says, I think Betty yells at Timmy because he can't hear. Bad Betty says, Jesus, I'm so sorry about your son. Let's see. Deb DF Sunshine says, their home sits right in the flood zone. They probably would not even get insurance for their stuff because of the flood zone.
Right. And they don't own the house. It's in that the LLC, there's an LLC that owns it. So they may not even pay the $103 property tax.
Florida Life in the Sun says the house they're in now is owned by Hunt Brannett
Right.
LLC.
Yes, that's
The
the name.
property of 17 acres is across the street.
Right. And that property that's another thing that I question. The property, the 17 acres across the street, is still in the names of their parents. It was never probated or to to Betty, Larry, or any of the children. So basically, from what I understand, that property, anybody in that family is an heir to that property. So that would be a nightmare to locate all those people. And they would have to be bought out or they'd have to sign away their right to be an heir to that. So I'm not sure how they could have even built a house on that property because you would have to have a clear deed to the property, unless the fact that they didn't have to get a mortgage or something. I don't know how all that works, but it does raise questions, I think.
Um, Yvonne says, I think you may be a little high on their income. No, that sounds about right. And plus, I don't know what the maximum EBT is for one person, but you got 5 people there too. So probably around 6,500 that family gets.
I would bet so because they're probably at least getting $900 each SSI or SSD. I'm not. I get confused which one's which. But and then they have disabilities, and sometimes that adds maybe adds a little bit more on or something. So I think they're probably at least getting 4,500 to 5,000 a month just from SSI, and then you add in the EBT. And they do get the Medicare. I'm sure Medicare and Medicaid in Virginia, so or West Virginia. So at least I think it's probably almost that much.
Well, it'd be really interesting to find out how much they pay for rent if they even pay for rent.
Right. And if that company owns that house and they're just there and they never made a move, they could tell them to get out at any time if they sold that piece of property or something. Maybe so.
Well, it seems like by now somebody would have reported them, the living conditions over there
Right.
and had the place condemned.
You would think the health department would have come in and condemned it
Mhm.
because we talked last night about they have no shower, they have no way to take a bath. And I think that to flush the toilet, they have to pour water into it because the toilet leaked and ran up that $600 um, water bill, which that's unbelievable. And there's not good, way to have very good hygiene there. And with all those dogs and the mold, and there were cockroaches in the bathtub in that video. And I think Patrick said that there was leaks in the roof really, and things got really wet in there. So they probably have some mold, and it cannot be healthy in there.
Ashley111 says, "Do you all remember when Eric arrived this time? The water bill was 600 past due and Eric paid it." And LA says, "I think a lot of people are missing the point. West Virginia, especially the remote area, is super, super poor and many people are on drugs."
Oh yeah, there's an epidemic of drug use, and it's so economically depressed. It is. It's a very it's an, it's a sad place.
Lalita says, "Eric had brought Ray to the doctor, so I would think they have some type of insurance." And Dee says, "I wonder if Adult Protective Services might take Ray, Lorraine, and Timmy away."
With all the attention that's being focused on that situation, I don't think that APS is going to want that kind of attention on their. That's putting them on the hot seat. And I'm sure a lot of people are saying, why haven't you done something? Why have you allowed these three disabled people to be kept in this type of environment? They're not clean. It's a horror. It's a terrible place to house. I'm wondering maybe if that something like that won't happen because their hands are going to be forced to. You're going to have some questions to answer if people pursue that.
Florida Life in the Sun says the LIC company online says they're a custodial trust management, so no telling what's going on with all that property.
Well, I think the LLC just probably bought that where the house is. That's a separate piece of property from what I understand. And I think they probably picked that up at a tax when people are delinquent on their taxes for a certain length of time, the property will go up for public auction. And a lot of those LLC companies, they come in and they buy that kind of property, you know, f- probably for the taxes that's owed on it. And, they probably make huge profits off of land, and this must may be one of the small pieces that they really can't do anything with. So, but I don't think that they own the 17 acres. I mean, I don't think the LLC. has any they have nothing to do with the 17 acres of property.
TG Chicago says not much can happen on that property. It floods.
Right.
And Deb DF Sunshine says BJ said that Betty gives her son money all the time.
I'm sure Betty does. I'm sure she gives a lot of people money. About the day their checks roll in, probably so does the relatives that need a little money. That's that's probably a pattern. And sadly, that happens to a lot of people. You know, a lot of times family members will take advantage of elderly people. You know, they'll just keep on asking, putting pressure on them until they give them money.
Kelly says last Eric video he said Brandon was getting money from Betty. And Cassie says, I feel so bad that this is all blowing up and publicly. The family will now be separated and won't survive. It's inevitable.
It is sad, and it makes you just shake your head and go, how why did they, I know that it's the way they live, and I know that it's generational, and I know that they have cognitive deficiencies, and I know all that, and at the same time I just want to say, what are you thinking? Can you not see what was being given to you? Why did you do this? This, and not only once, but this is your second opportunity. It's just really hard to understand.
And Ellie Mae sending prayers for all our friends still not feeling well. Funky says 9 more likes. How many people are in the chat right now? I would imagine we're almost at 100 then. 91 probably likes. I can't see that part of the chat.
How many people are in the chat?
130 and one highlighted 100 more or more comments. 130
Wow.
are in the chat. Cassie says, oh, Cassie B, that's cute. I just noticed a little B. They are all abusing Betty. Betty is bullied by everybody. Everyone takes from Betty. They are simple people living very simply. Unless you live that way, you would never understand it. And Kelly says Brandon lost his kids. They are in foster care. Oh, here's a mouthful. Sir Rin Cherokee Eastern Band says that makes sense, but the Wits is in flood zone property, can be hidden the real owner after death. Where did it go? Boy, the chat's going by. Let's see.
Wow.
That makes sense, but the Wits is in flood zone. Property can be hidden the real owner after death. I family to keep from being pestered. Let's see. Ellie Mesa's second public opportunity. No telling how many other opportunities they have blown that we don't know about. And Chevy 777 says they're being abused, so the state needs to figure out, and maybe it will take BJ out of the picture that way.
Well, I'm wondering if BJ still doesn't have to go to court because, she was in jail and Larry bailed her out of jail because she got arrested because that she was like, they were still in copper wiring, like from phone lines and stuff. And I think that Patrick said, I remember this, that they were down there behind the Whittaker's house burning off the coating off the copper. And then they take it to like the scrap yard place or the people who buy that sort of thing. And that those people who bought it got in trouble because they knew what they were buying. They shouldn't have bought it. That they got in bad trouble over it. And BJ got arrested and her boyfriend got arrested, but that she got out of jail on bail because that maybe she told stuff. And that was one of that. And then Larry was able to bail her out because the rest of them are still in jail. But she probably is going to still be facing charges. I don't know if they'll be as severe as the people who are still in jail, but she probably still is going to be up on charges for that. That's pretty serious. And the Whitakers, those people don't need to have criminals in the backyard burning copper, and that's serious. These people are mean. They probably will not be, that's not safe.
Robert says, watch the video from the beginning. Timmy points to the trailer. Florida Life in the Sun says there's a lot more families up there living the same way, unfortunately. D says if BJ goes to jail, maybe that will help. Velvet Pixie says the Whittakers being made public was a blessing that could potentially a curse because it could mean that the family is torn apart. And Kelly says $25K worth of wire they stole.
I mean, that's a lot of wire. That's serious.
And Victoria says drugs.
Right. I, there's a lot that comes along with BJ that does not need to be around the Whitakers, especially Timmy, Ray, and Lorraine. And they had to be aware that that's what they were doing. I mean, like Larry, of course, says, well, I didn't know. Sure, I don't buy that for a second.
Ashley1111 says, I'm Team Eric though. Oh, through and through. He's standing on business.
Well, I haven't, I agree. I haven't heard anything. I mean, there's a Reddit forum that's just nasty anti Eric, but a lot of people on there are very misinformed. I read through that today, and you know, I just said this is crazy, but they're just throwing out just horrible statements and things about Eric that they're not true, and they're not backing it up with any type of uh, receipts, anything that is verifiable or anything. But I think from anything that I've read about Eric, he's everybody seems to say he's an upstanding guy. And I've not seen anything that would make me feel otherwise about him. And I think Patrick is an okay guy. I think Patrick and Eric are very different people, but I think that Patrick has good intentions towards the Whittaker family as well.
Velvet Pixie says, I wish Larry and Betty understood that having BJ around is actually doing to their lives and their futures. Kelly says, poor Eric, he bent over backwards to help. And Florida life in the sun. I think Eric is done with everything. And Ellie Mae says, yes, Florida, but most don't have the severe mental disabilities that Timmy Ray and Lorraine have. They aren't living that way by choice. Seeing Timmy when he is staying out shows tons. And Robert says Larry and Betty know what they're doing.
I don't know, Robert, you may have a point there because, you can look at it from the perspective of, when they were involved, when Mark Lana was involved with them, Mark gave them money. He would give them every time, they would call and ask for money. Mark gave it to them. And that money basically was cash, I think he gave to them. And they were able to, to get money, a lot of money. But with Eric and Patrick, they were not going to be able to access money like that. And, are they smart enough to think, well, we'll just be able to get lots and lots of money, but we're not going to do a house and all that kind of stuff. I guess it's possible. Maybe they're smarter than we think. Certainly a different perspective. Susie, did you go away? Hey, Funky, are you there?
Yeah, you could just keep going. She's about to come back in.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're waiting on Susie to come back in. I can't read the chat from where I'm at, and I apologize to you guys for that. And if anybody else would like to come up on panel, please come up. I know you guys are probably really tired of listening to me, and I welcome anybody that would like to come up. Please do.
No, they're not. Everybody loves you. They've come accustomed to your voice. They love you. Sure, Ren Cherokee Eastern Band said disability start in 1974. So John Grace Witt was able to get SSI for the disability ones. So it's been going on for 50 years. Um, Velvet Pixie says IMO Betty and Larry are con artists with addict mental abilities. Learn from BJ question mark. Um, Robert Shelvin. Betty owns the property. Larry knows what's going on. Betty, not so much. Maybe.
Okay, Betty, I don't think that Betty owns the property. I think that the 17 acres, I don't think it's ever been put into anyone's name specifically, that it is still like the heirs own the property because it was never probated or deeded to just one of, like Betty. There was, I think that I've seen a whole lot of information about that. And if you know something else, please share it because I was under the impression that Betty didn't actually, that none of those kids actually had it in their name. So that's interesting.
I looked in the tax map system. According to the court records, on an LLC property manager owns the property that their house is on. The 17 acres across the road is still in Larry and Betty's parents' name.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Kelly B says land tax records in the probate court in 3 County has the 17 acres across the road from the house list John and Grace as the deed holders.
So I guess when their parents died, that they just left it that way, and it was never probated or assigned. Maybe they didn't have a will. Could have been the case, I guess. But it doesn't sound like that any of those kids actually owned that property. It would be the heirs. That could be a lot of people. The heirs of 16 children, the ones that live to have children. That could be a lot of people that, potentially, you know, would inherit a bit of that property, or money from the sale of that property. But I'm not sure how they could actually build a house there without, that all that being cleared. I don't know how that works, but that sounds complicated to me. Okay, is Susie coming back? If she's not, Betty, will you come up and read?
Sharon Cherokee Eastern Band says my property was in two names after my spouse died. My attorney kept the names; they stayed the same, so the property showed the and the. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I'm not sure about all that either, Funky. That's not my expertise. So, um, hopefully, hopefully she does own it. But I have no idea. And I think there are some other living siblings as well. We just haven't seen them in the videos. So I don't know how many, but I believe there are two or three that maybe they don't. I'm not sure where they live, but I think there are other living siblings.
Rob Thomas says who paid the tax on the land all these years?
I have no idea. I guess the Whitakers have somehow managed to pay it, because I'm sure that if 17 acres of land went into delinquency, that it would have been, bought right up by like one of those LLC companies. Um, a lot of times if you get delinquent on your taxes, your mortgage company will pay it, because I think in West Virginia, or in many states, that property taxes will override a mortgage, and the people who buy these properties where the taxes are pay the taxes up, that the mortgage company can't do anything about it, and they lose ownership of that home as well. So the mortgage companies, if your home or property is mortgaged and you're delinquent, most of the time they will go ahead and pay those taxes and just add that onto your monthly house payment. Because if they don't, and that property snatched up by one of the LLC holding companies that do this type of thing, then the mortgage company's just out of luck. So maybe they been able to pay the taxes on the 17 acres. Maybe there are other siblings that go in and pay it. I don't know. That's a good question.
Um, LA said it was said that the other remaining siblings have moved far away and have changed their last name to be unassociated with the family.
Wow, I haven't heard that. Yeah, I have not heard that.
So she said, so I'm not sure if the remaining siblings are as severe with mental disabilities or not. And then she said, yeah, I believe either Eric or Patrick was saying that, and it was due to the severe harassment of when they were younger. I think that's why people left them alone to live in squalor.
right? Because I think the whole family has been bullied over the years. I mean, people driving up to their house and, just being mean to them. Because that stigma, quote inbred family has followed probably since they were kids. So they are probably very, very protective of each other.
Denise Hayes says there's one family member that don't live far from them. Um, Deb DF Sunshine said maybe they can divide the property by the acre. If three of the living siblings live on the property in a new house, maybe they could all have 3 acres.
Yeah, um, maybe there's something they can do, but with 16 siblings, and I'm not sure how many survived childhood and, had children of their own. But if those siblings have died, then their children will be the heir as well. So there's probably going to be more than three, um, and because of that, in the case of grandchildren and things that survived, the the siblings who died, their children would still be heirs to that property as well. So that could that sounds complicated.
I'm back. My phone tried to update on me
Oh
of all
no.
times. So it's like,
We
oh my
thought
goodness.
you just went into the ether and no one could find you. And I'm
Oh
going,
no, the phone
please
just
come
started
back.
trying to do an update and it's like, oh my goodness, what bad timing.
Oh, I know. Um, so Funky, he came to the rescue and he's been helping out with the chat and thank heavens.
Yeah. Nobody else wanted to go up there then, huh?
I begged and I can't get anybody to come up.
Let's see. Did this one already get read? D. I think there is only one other sibling, a woman.
No, I don't think that one did in particular. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, go ahead. I think that's great. That's good.
I'm just trying to figure out where you guys kind of left off because I can't see anything once my phone went. The chat starts all
Oh,
over.
golly. I think that's sort of around the area because we were talking about a sibling that lived. There was a sibling that didn't live too far away from the Whittaker family.
Okay. Well, this one's not too old. Let's see here. LA says, yeah, I believe either Eric or Patrick was saying that, and it was due to the severe harassment of when they were younger. I think that's why people left them all alone to live in squalor.
Right, he read that one.
Okay. And then I just read that one. Fernand says, Victoria, you're so welcome, sweetheart. My heart feels heavy for you. Um, LA says, okay, guys, it's after midnight and I need to get to bed. I have to be up for work in the morning. Good night, everyone. And D says, Larry had said there were 3 brothers and 3 sisters.
That were still living.
Okay. Chevy777 says, because BJ is so selfish and doesn't get the help for her addictions, it ruins it for everyone else. BJ is selfish, thinks of no one else.
Well, that's usually how people who are addicted think. I mean, that the drugs drive them, and that's the most important thing, and they don't care, what it costs other people, their families. as long as they get their drugs.
Deb says the children would have to share in the 1 acre. So let me try to read this all at once. The children would have to share in the 1 acre FOE. So there is 1 acre and 5 kids. They divide the acre by 5.
I don't know. Um, I guess they would have to divide it out to where it was equal, an equal share for, um, I guess like if there were 16 kids and just say that there were 6 kids still living and just just for the sake of a number, say there were 3 that had passed away, and they all had children, then all of those children of the 3 that passed away would be have to divide. They would inherit their parents' part of that property. So their individual, it would depend on how many children they had. If they had 6 children, then they would have to divide their parents' part 6 ways. So pretty much you offer to buy them out, I would say. And, depend on what you agreed that a fair price would be, and then they could always refuse to sell. So I think it could get real complicated if someone wanted to, just say, no, I don't think I want to sell. It would probably spoil anything for everybody. So, and like I said, I'm not an expert in that area, but yeah, it's probably the way it would be done.
Denise says, I have seen a video from Mark. He took them to the cemetery. There had to be at least 10 family members there. They all just had a little stone with their names on it.
Yeah, I remember that video. Yeah,
And Tendency for the Truth says that trailer sits on property owned by Rock Granite LIC. LLC.
right.
And Denise says they even showed the grandfather's grave. And Tendency for the Truth says also they are not on septic with sewage draining into the creek. Denise says 2 passed away at birth. They were stillborn. Oh, sorry, guys. My throat. I keep coughing. I've been under the weather. Tendency for the Truth says their 17 acres is across the street from where the trailer is. So the trailer and the house they rent are on one side and the 17 acres are on the other?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think their parents' house may have been at one time kind of where that camper Larry had that burned down. That's kind of my understanding of that.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Lighthouse Girl says, I think Eric now realizes the property may be a problem. So in turn, he is going to blame BJ for ruining house build. Um, I'm going backwards and seeing if there's anything else here. Are we all Whittakered out and maybe want to change the subject or?
Yeah, and somebody else, welcome to come up if you something else anybody wants to talk about. I'm no by no means an expert. I've just followed them and came up on the panel just to talk a little bit, and I've been here a lot, so I know you're probably tired of me, and I
No,
can
everybody's liking to talk about
fully,
this.
yeah. Um, I'm really anxious to hear from Eric again, regardless of what he says. You know, we need an ending. We need some closure. If he's not, from him, I think if, and I certainly hope that he he does have some change of heart, and I truly think he will because of Timmy.
Casey Carpenter says Eric Carroll is home in Georgia.
Okay. Did you see something? Did he post anything? Was it Casey, or how do you know that?
Is Bad Betty still running around? Or is
I
she in a
saw her.
corner with somebody?
She's probably in the corner with somebody. She needs to get her behind, excuse me, up on the panel for a little while.
Yes, the Betty After Show. Betty, where are you? Let's see if Casey answers you back. TG Chicago says, yes, Casey, he'll be back. Tendency for the Truth says, I think that family cemetery Mark took them on a road trip to visit was in Kentucky or Virginia.
Wow, that's interesting. I would have thought it would have been in West Virginia.
And Chevy777 says, their Aunt Connie. I don't know what that's to, but I was probably gone.
I think that may be the lady that lives near them, the one aunt that there is a sibling that does live close to them, and that might be Connie.
Lighthouse Girl says it's all a little wacko. Yes, Diane, I see your comment. I don't know if you were trying to have me read something else. It just says Diane. And then she says, see this comment, Susie? I don't see one before that. Oh, and Funky's asking, well, Diane, what do you mean? That's what I was wondering too.
Yeah, because you don't know what to look for. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
Which
Funky's,
comment is she talking about?
it just says her name and it says, see this comment, Susie? That's it. I don't see anything above it, but I was gone for a little while when the phone was trying to update on me. I don't see anything from Casey yet about Eric Carroll being in Georgia. Let's see. Funky says everybody hit the like button. And what is Funky saying here? Diane, we moved past the BS from the other channels. Oh, something's going on. Diane says, can I spill non-Whittaker tea? DF Sunshine says, this evening Timmy has spaghetti at Patrick's house and they had a pillow fight too. Oh, that
Yeah, I
was on
saw that.
Facebook. I saw that.
Yeah, that was cute. That spaghetti looked good. It makes me, here we go talking about food now, but that spaghetti looked good.
And Kathy wants to know, Funky, did you change your Cash App? Let's see here. And Funky says, Kathy, it's still the same. And did Bad Betty just totally go night night or what? I haven't seen her here since I've been back.
I don't know. I saw her earlier, not so long ago. Hey, Betty, are you still out there? Hey, and Gee Whiz isn't here either.
Nope, a lot of people are sick right now.
Yeah, I think she had like guests at her house too.
Well,
A lot
yeah,
going
she's
on.
got some health issues. She got banged up like a week ago in an accident. So,
Yeah,
yeah. And this flu or something, just a lot of people are sick right now.
yeah, really, they are. Um, they should just be thankful that we're healthy.
Right. Let's see. Kelly says Patrick is not on YouTube. He is on Facebook and TT under Patrick Rourke. Let's see here. Um, Casey never got back to us.
Right. Because I mean, I wasn't questioning her, anything making it, saying that he's in Georgia. I just wondered
Oh
if
yeah, I'd be
she,
curious too. She
yeah,
might have
because
just got off or something.
yeah, and I think a lot of people thought he was going to Georgia. I thought he was going back to West Virginia, but he could be in Georgia. I just wondered if he'd been on, social media because I would like, we've not seen hide or hair of him in like 24 hours. So,
Mm.
I was thinking she might have saw something that we didn't know about.
And Ellie Mae says Bad Betty is in Gummy La La Land.
She probably is. Yeah, where's Ann Carmichael? We haven't seen her.
Oh, she hasn't been on here tonight at all.
Yeah, I miss her. She's funny. She's so witty with her statements that she writes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she comes up with those
But
really, really quick too.
she's talented with that.
Yes, she is. Looks like a lot of the regular chat already went to sleep. I'm trying to go back
There's
and
Aunt. It's the
oh, is she
I
there?
can be I can barely see the chat, and I mean it's like, but is that her? Oh, she's Miss. I thought I saw Ann Carmichael just pop up there, but I can barely
Oh,
read that.
Ann Carmichael says she's missing in action.
Oh well, we miss you.
Okay, and Funky's got a comment here. Just a minute, guys. I gotta make this bigger. They're going by pretty quick. Funky says StreamYard went up to 120 $20 a week. Anything would help. I'm at 600 a month.
Wow.
And let's see what else. Tendency for the Truth says Eric gushes. Boy, the chat. Eric gushes about loving Timmy, yet he left him there with BJ, knowing he would get her wrath for Eric posting videos of getting Timmy to call her a bish. Oh, wow.
Well, I just hope BJ's smart enough to leave Timmy alone because that would upset a lot of people tremendously if Timmy shows up with bruises or, anything that would indicate that he had not been treated appropriately. That would probably be a very wrong thing for her to do, in my opinion.
Let's see.
Oh, Patrick did say that Timmy still has his phone because a lot of people were really worried that, Timmy knows how to dial 911, as we all know. You guys might not have seen, but the night he got his phone, he called 911 like several times, and the police showed up at the Airbnb.
Oh, wow.
And so it was funny. But he does know how to dial 911, but he knows better than to do it, just to be doing it now. But everybody was really worried in the chats on the different social media platforms about Timmy. He was back at home that night that everything happened, and they were afraid that, maybe they had taken his phone away from him. But Patrick said Timmy does have his phone, and so evidently they didn't take his phone away.
Let's see. Kathy says, Funky, will you check, please? I think I have a different one. Different Cash App, apparently. And Carmichael says, Funky Happy Dance. Ellie Mae says there's still over 90 in the chat. Dee says, thank you for telling me about Patrick's Facebook page. I went in there, then pillow fighting is so cute.
That was so cute.
TG Chicago says Eric went back to Georgia. Ellie Mae says it's hilarious how Timmy teases Patrick and Eric about doing 911.
Yeah.
Denise says Patrick had a live 2 days ago and he said he thinks BJ by now.
Well, he said Timmy had his phone today in his live, and he said it was on the charger, but Timmy did still have his phone. So I was glad to hear that she didn't take it away.
And Ann says, Funky, I bought my bullet blender to help you mix some of your juices tonight. Rhonda says, I've got to get some sleep. Everyone have a good night. Be safe.
Good night, Rhonda.
Good night, Rhonda. Ann Carmichael says, Miss Kitty is on the mend. The vet gave her prednisone and she looks completely normal. Yay for recovery. Oh, what a blessing. Having sick fur babies is no fun. Denise says, Patrick had a live today.
Yeah, he did. It was him and Timmy. They showed up on the live, and they both had on matching hoodies. It was cute as it could be, and Timmy's was pulled down almost over his eyes. He was really cute.
So he doesn't seem to be too stressed being away from the family then, huh?
No, he seemed happy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Patrick had said that Betty came up there. I guess it was yesterday because people had been calling her on the phone. Said her phone rang continuously, and people had called and said, threatened that they were going to come and get uh, Larry and Lorraine and Timmy and take them out of that situation. And she kind of got scared, evidently, and she went walk. She came up to Patrick's house, and she was going to take Timmy home, and Patrick convinced her to leave him because he didn't need to be involved in all that. And she did, and then later, it was when Patrick and his friend were doing that live. It might have been day before yesterday or yesterday, I can't remember. And his friend said, you know, Timmy didn't want to go home. So I think Timmy's pretty happy when he's with Patrick. I don't think Timmy. I think he misses. I think he wants to go see his mama. I think he loves his mama, But I think Timmy would be happy if he lived at Patrick's house.
Tendency for the Truth says Patrick and Timmy's interactions are so natural and endearing. The love they have for one another is palat- palatable. Denise says, okay, that's good to know.
He is Timmy does love Patrick because he will just lean over on his shoulder and he calls him Mama. That's what he calls Patrick. It's Mama. And he'll just pat his shoulder and he'll say Mama. And it just breaks my heart when he does that. He just pure innocence. Timmy is he's just the love of a 6-year-old child.
Mm-hmm. Anne Carmichael says she was allergic to her food. She had a huge patch of fur missing, a swollen lip, and her paws were so sore she
Oh
couldn't
my,
walk on them. All flared when she went into heat. So she'll be spayed Tuesday. Oh, how scary.
that poor kitty.
Was she on that kind of food very long, or was it just a recent change? Or good night, Kathy. I think a lot of people are getting tired now. I don't know how many's in the
Yeah,
chat.
it's 12:32 on the East Coast, my time zone.
Oh, you
Yeah,
might be very tired then.
yeah, and
So,
it's going to be Monday tomorrow, so I'm going to have to, exit the off here soon because we've had a busy weekend with having the children here, my grandchildren, and I'm gonna have to get I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, so I'm gonna have to
oh,
pretty
yeah.
soon say good night and maybe someone could come up and take over the panel because there's a lot of people still in here and some of you, I mean, you guys could do just as well as me.
Yeah, TJ says there's, or TJ, listen to me. TG says there's 83 in here. And Anne says it was going into heat from change. It was from going into heat from changing her hormones. Wow.
Yeah. So, um,
So does anybody want to come up and take over the chat? It's getting late on the East Coast. That is for sure. And I'm not feeling very well either. So on my phone might try to update it any minute again. I pushed it off for a little while.
that was so that would just panic me if I were up here. I'm doing this on an iPad that I would panic if it went into updating. Oh, that would be awful.
I don't know if it's just like iPhones that update so much, but it seems like it's always trying to update. It's crazy.
I think if you don't just let it update or go in and intentionally do it, that it just keeps notifying you and then doing it a lot until you get it done. I think they have a mind of their own sometimes. I truly do.
Yeah. I think somebody else's phone started to update on them a couple weeks ago that was on the panel or something.
Yeah. So, I mean,
Uh,
you were just gone and we were like, where is Susie? I'm like, Funky.
well, I usually kick myself out, but that wasn't it. It just was
Yeah.
talking about the updates, and I was trying to get it to stop before it was too late.
Yeah. And I figured you'd just gotten kicked out and you'd be right back. And I couldn't see the chat, and I'm going, oh no.
I know. I can't work all this stuff. I can just see the chat. I can't see how many's in here, anything like that.
Right.
Mike Hatred says, I think Kenny is Timmy's real dad. They look identical. Just saying.
Could be. I don't think if anybody really, well, so they know, but, and that's when our troll if whoever BJ Whittaker, the troll, or whoever was in here said. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Tendency for the Truth says, you ladies are awesome. Thank you. Good night. I hope you all get some good rest.
Thank you so much, and you as well.
Thank you. Mike Hatred says, I'm not trying to mean, just my observation.
Oh, Mike, I didn't think you were trying to be mean at all. I think he looks like Kenny too.
Well, I think Funky, unless anybody else wants to get up here, I think everybody is getting sleepy and I don't really see no new comments. So,
Well, I've enjoyed being up here, but I'm going to have to go because I have an early morning, and I thank you all for your patience with me being up here tonight. And Susie, you are a wonderful person to be up here with, and thank you so much.
oh, well, thank you. You know so much about it. I was surprised when I seen you were the first one on stage ready to go tonight. I'm like, oh, yes.
I know I surprised myself, but I like being in chat. I really do, and this is
Right.
I never had any intentions of ever entering this panel, but this topic is near and dear to me. I followed these people, and it's just when I've invested a lot of time, they are, I don't know, I feel so bad for them, and I don't want them to be exploited, and I want them to have so much better, and I just, that's all I can say. They're, this family's dear to my heart. They really are. And I
Mm,
wish there was something I could do to make it all better, but I can't. And, you know, it's just sad. I just want them to prosper. I want them to have better.
right. Oh,
So,
Mima's here. Maybe she'll come up.
yeah,
I
Mima,
see her say, Kelly B, is Miss Pamela related to you? Let's see. And I don't hear Funky, so
okay. She says no. I think
no,
I
not
can't.
tonight. Yeah, I didn't think
Yeah.
but I'm
Okay.
sick. So, okay. Well, we're going to say goodnight, and I guess Funky can come say goodnight. And I got to
Yeah.
give my voice a break. So, and hopefully
Right.
you'll have some good updates tomorrow night. Quiet. That would be great. Everybody say,
Yeah.
Mima. Okay,
Well,
Mima, get some rest. Everybody get some rest and have a good night.
as well, thank you again for being a great audience or listening to me. And I appreciate it, and sleep well, everybody. Good night.
Okay, good night.